In a Bible filled with epic battles and laws, the Book of Ruth stands out as a gentle story of hope and loyalty. Amid the chaos of the judges, when everyone did what was right in their own eyes, Ruth's story emerges, quiet, intimate, and deeply human. It's more than a romance, it's a tapestry of faith, family, and redemption. Today, we'll uncover 10 fascinating facts about Ruth that reveal its historical depth and enduring message. We'll use the King James Version, letting its timeless language bring this ancient story to life. Let's journey together into the heart of Ruth. To appreciate Ruth's light, we must first see the darkness it pierces. Ruth follows Judges, a book of chaos, violence, and moral decay, where every man did that which was right in his own eyes. Judges ends with civil war and despair, but Ruth opens with a quiet family story in Bethlehem. While Israel was lost, Ruth's narrative shows ordinary people making righteous choices. It's a vision of loving kindness, hesed, contrasting the nation's self-interest. Ruth is a narrative balm after Judges, showing God's plan continues even in human failure. This peaceful interlude prepares for Israel's future king, built on righteousness, not power. Ruth and Boaz embody the foundation of a true kingdom. Ruth's identity is radical. She's a Moabitess, an outsider by law and culture. In the ancient world, lineage and heritage defined belonging, and Ruth's background set her apart from the people of Israel. She was born into a nation often viewed with suspicion and hostility by the Israelites, making her story all the more remarkable. Moabites were Israel's enemies, excluded from the congregation by Deuteronomy. The law specifically forbade Moabites from entering the assembly of the Lord, a rule rooted in centuries of conflict and religious differences. Ruth's very presence in Israel would have been controversial, even scandalous to some. Yet Ruth is the story's protagonist, her faith and loyalty exemplary. She stands out not just for her actions, but for her heart, a heart willing to serve, to sacrifice, and to trust in a God she barely knew. She leaves her people and gods to embrace Naomi and the God of Israel. This journey was not just physical, but spiritual, a complete transformation of identity and allegiance. This act transcends boundaries, placing her at the center of God's plan. Ruth's courage to step into the unknown, to cross borders of culture and faith, is a testament to the power of personal conviction. Ruth's story ends with a genealogy. She becomes King David's great-grandmother. Her legacy is woven into the very fabric of Israel's royal line, showing how God can use anyone, regardless of their origin. In Matthew's Gospel, her name appears in Jesus' lineage. This inclusion is a powerful reminder that God's story is bigger than any one nation or people. God's grace isn't limited by ethnicity. He works through the unexpected. Ruth's life is a living example that God's love and purpose extend far beyond human boundaries. Ruth's presence in Christ's line foreshadows the gospel, salvation for all, by faith. Her story points forward to a time when all people, regardless of background, are invited into God's family. She proves faith, not bloodline, makes one a child of God. Ruth's journey from outsider to ancestor of the Messiah is a testament to the transformative power of faith and the boundless reach of divine grace. Though the book is named for Ruth, the story's deepest emotional arc truly belongs to Naomi. She is the one whose life is upended, whose journey takes her from fullness to emptiness, and ultimately to a surprising restoration. Naomi leaves her home in Bethlehem with her husband and sons, seeking survival in Moab during a famine. But tragedy strikes, her husband dies, and then, heartbreakingly, both her sons are lost as well. She returns to Bethlehem, feeling utterly empty and alone, her family gone. Grief overwhelms her. She asks her neighbors to call her Mara, which means bitter, believing her suffering is a sign of God's judgment. Naomi's pain is raw and honest. She does not hide her sorrow, but names it openly. Yet in her darkest moment, Ruth's unwavering loyalty becomes Naomi's lifeline. Ruth refuses to abandon her, choosing to journey with Naomi into an uncertain future, offering companionship and hope. This steadfast relationship plants the first seeds of hope. Gradually, Naomi's despair gives way to a new sense of purpose, and she begins to take action for both their futures. Naomi recognizes Boaz, a relative, as a potential redeemer. She carefully devises a plan for Ruth to find security and belonging, guiding her with wisdom and care. No longer a passive victim of fate, Naomi becomes an active agent in shaping their destiny. She seeks security for Ruth, showing courage and resourcefulness in the face of adversity. By the end of the story, Naomi's emptiness is transformed. She holds her grandson, Obed, in her arms, a symbol of new life and hope restored. The women of Bethlehem gather to bless Naomi, declaring that Ruth's love and devotion are worth more than 7 sons, honoring the bond between them. Through God's faithfulness and Ruth's steadfast love, Naomi's bitterness is transformed into deep joy. Her journey reminds us that even in the midst of loss, hope and renewal are possible. At the very heart of the Book of Ruth lies the profound concept of the Kinsman Redeemer, or Goel, a principle deeply woven into the fabric of ancient Hebrew society. This idea is not just a legal technicality, but a powerful symbol of hope and restoration for families in crisis. According to this ancient law, if a man died without children, a close relative had the right and responsibility to redeem his land and marry his widow. This ensured that the family's name, property, and legacy would not be lost, and that the vulnerable would be protected from poverty and isolation. Naomi, understanding the weight of this tradition, introduces the possibility of redemption when Ruth begins gleaning in the fields of Boaz, a relative with the power to change their fate. Boaz is indeed a near kinsman, but the law requires that the closest relative be given the first opportunity. This sets the stage for a tense legal drama as the community gathers to witness what will unfold. At the city gate, before the elders and townspeople, the nearer kinsman declines to marry Ruth, fearing that doing so might endanger his own inheritance and complicate his family line. With the way now open, Boaz steps forward, not only fulfilling his duty as a redeemer, but acting out of genuine compassion and love. He redeems both the land and the family, restoring what was lost. This act is far more than a romantic gesture. It is a living illustration of God's redemptive love, reaching into brokenness to bring healing and new beginnings. The Goel, or Kinsman Redeemer, is a powerful foreshadowing of Christ himself, who, at great personal cost, redeems humanity and restores what was lost through sin. Ruth's story is ultimately about restoration, of land, of family, and of hope for the future. It reminds us that no situation is beyond redemption. At the very core of God's plan is redemption, a promise that brokenness can be made whole, and that love has the power to transform every life. Ruth's defining moment is her pledge to Naomi, a declaration of loyalty that echoes through history. While Orpah returns home, Ruth clings to Naomi, vowing, "Your people shall be my people, and your God my God." She abandons her past for an uncertain future, embracing Naomi's faith and fate. Ruth's commitment is total. She pledges to live and die as an Israelite. By invoking the Lord's name, she shows her genuine conversion. This act of hesed, loving kindness, sets the story's redemption in motion. Boaz later recognizes and rewards Ruth's faith. Her loyalty is the catalyst for hope and restoration. If Ruth is faithfulness, Boaz is righteousness. He's introduced as a man of wealth and noble character, blessing his workers and fostering respect. Boaz's kindness to Ruth, a foreign widow, goes beyond the law. He protects her, provides for her, and recognizes her loyalty to Naomi. Boaz sees Ruth's faith as seeking refuge under God's wings. He acts with integrity, handling Ruth's proposal publicly and legally. Unlike the nearer kinsman, Boaz is motivated by loving kindness, not self-interest. He redeems Ruth and the family name, using his power to lift the vulnerable. Boaz is the human hero, an embodiment of godly manhood. His actions mirror God's own redemptive love. The barley harvest isn't just a backdrop, it's a symbol of hope. Naomi and Ruth arrive in Bethlehem at harvest, moving from famine to abundance. The harvest marks a new beginning, a season of provision after loss. Ruth gleans by right, as the law provided for the poor and foreigner. Boaz's generosity turns law into personal blessing, providing for Ruth and Naomi. The barley Ruth brings home is the first fruit of their restored lives. The setting underscores God's faithfulness. Emptiness gives way to fullness. Even after despair, God brings new beginnings. Ruth is a literary gem, a perfectly structured short story. 4 chapters form a symmetrical arc: tragedy, hope, risk, and resolution. Chapter 1 sets the stage with loss. Chapter 2 introduces hope in Boaz. Chapter 3 is the turning point, Ruth's bold proposal at the threshing floor. Chapter 4 resolves the drama publicly, ending with marriage and a child. The story moves from emptiness to fullness, bitterness to blessing. Its tight structure and emotional depth make it unforgettable. Ruth's journey is a complete, satisfying narrative. In a patriarchal world, Ruth centers on women's agency. Naomi and Ruth drive the story with their decisions and courage. Ruth's loyalty sets everything in motion. Her initiative leads to Boaz. She's not a passive victim, but an active participant in her own deliverance. Naomi evolves from grief to wise strategist, orchestrating Ruth's future. Their teamwork navigates social and legal barriers. Even the women of Bethlehem play key roles, welcoming Naomi, blessing her at the end. They proclaim Ruth better than 7 sons, a radical affirmation. Ruth highlights women's resilience, wisdom, and central place in God's plan. Their faith and action shape the story of salvation. Ruth's story ends with a genealogy, 10 generations from Perez to David. This isn't just a family record, it's the point of the narrative. Ruth and Boaz's son, Obed, is David's grandfather, linking the story to Israel's greatest king. God was quietly preparing the way for David, even in chaotic times. Bethlehem, the setting, becomes the city of David, and later the birthplace of Jesus. The prophet Micah foretold a ruler from Bethlehem, fulfilled in Christ. Ruth's inclusion in Jesus' lineage prefigures salvation for all. The book is a vital chapter in the story of redemption. The Book of Ruth is more than a romance. It's a profound story of loyalty, redemption, and God's quiet providence. It shows God working through ordinary lives, breaking boundaries, and turning emptiness into blessing. Ruth is a statement of God's inclusive grace and care for the marginalized. Even in dark times, God is at work, preparing the way for redemption. Take time to read Ruth. It's a story of hope that still speaks today. Thank you for joining me on this journey.